It's been a tough week for comedy fans after we heard the news of Natalie Desselle Reid's passing on Monday. And now Tommy Tiny Lester has passed Thursday afternoon. According to People magazine and his manager Cindy Cohen, Lester was experiencing COVID symptoms for a week. His team went to check on him, and after they couldn't get in contact with him, he was found unresponsive and pronounced dead on the scene. Throughout his career, he's gained a reputation for playing intimidating bullies in movies. However, off-screen, he was known as a gentle giant and one of the nicest guys around. Today on the show, we have our own comedy hype analyst, Rexx Garvin, calling in to give his reaction and share a story of a time he ran into Tiny. Rexx, this has been a tough 2020. 2020 has not let up. It seems from beginning to close to the end, we're experiencing so many losses. What was your reaction when you heard the news of Tiny?
Oh man, first of all, I want to say God bless Tiny, his family, all the seeds that he planted, him as a person. What a beautiful person. And you know, I knew him before he was Deebo. One thing about Tiny I can say, he was always in character search. He is a favorite among the comedy at theater people. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, he was a part of Robin Harris's bit. When Robin Harris would do his Baby Kids bits and do a lot of his routines at the Comedy at Theater in Los Angeles on 43rd and Crenshaw. Tiny was there in the audience. That was one of his punchlines. Robin Harris would always use Tiny. And at that time, Tiny was going by Zeus. He was a pro wrestler, and this is when I knew him. And man, what a great dude, man. And when I was popular at the Comedy at Theater in Atlanta on 8th and Peachtree, he would come by there. And D.L. Hughley and Joe Torre have great stories about Tiny. What Tiny would do, he would like come on stage and grab you by the shoulder, you know, and that's what he was doing with D.L. Hughley and Joe Torre. He was doing that in L.A. And he didn't do that with me, man, because at the time I was too cute and too sexy to be grabbed. So he was too big because he would really do that character because Tiny was looking for a character. So he would do this character. He would come on stage and hit his chest and go, "What you talking about?" And you go, "Ah!"
And I think that's something that a lot of people perceive. They think that Deebo was Tiny. They think, you know, when they see Deebo in Friday, because he was such a masculine individual, you know, he played the character so well that it seemed as if, you know, who they saw on camera was in real life. And Rexx, I want to read a few comments because I think it's important to note, as you mentioned, he was a beautiful person. You know, he played his character very well. However, off screen, he was amazing. So I just want to read a few things that I've seen people commenting. We have Ice-T who says, "I lost another very close friend yesterday. My homie Tiny Lester passed away. I'm speechless. We did so many films together and we were close personal friends. R.I.P. Deebo." Clifton Powell, "My heart is broken. One of the nicest, coolest guys I have ever worked is gone. Rest well, my friend. See you on the other side." And last and certainly not least, and I think this one will touch you, Rest. This is with Kim Whitley. She says, "I thought I would see you again. I just knew Ice Cube was going to make the Last Friday movie. I just knew I would talk to you again. That's all I kept saying. I just took a deep breath after Natalie Desselle Reid's death a couple days ago. And now you, Tiny Lester, Deebo, one of the nicest, most gentle souls I've known. I'm just stuck. I want to call everyone and say I love them and thank you, but that is impossible. So let me say thank you, Tiny, for your good work and good deeds." Now, Rexx, I know you said you've known Tiny, you know, before he was Deebo. In your time knowing him, are there any stories, you know, in this moment that you can recall specifically about, you know, who Deebo was off screen, who Tiny was off screen?
Man, Tiny was just a simply beautiful human being. Away from the character, he was just a nice person. Matter of fact, there was an incident. This was happening like maybe 1992, somewhere around that time. My car wasn't happening. I was living in Buckhead, you know, at the time. And my car wasn't working, so I just asked Tiny out of the woodwork. I called him and said, "Hey, Tiny, can you go pick up my mom?" Never met her before. I just told him what she looks like. And at the time, she was over on Monroe and Piedmont. There's a supermarket over there near Piedmont Park. He went over there and picked her up. But at the same time, this is way before Deebo. But people knew who Zeus was. See, keep in mind, he was going by the character Zeus at that time because he was doing that Hulk Hogan movie called No Holds Barred. So he was big at that time from that character. So in that area, when people saw this big guy get out the car with that bad eye going the other way, this so I'm going toward my mother, he went there smiling. And man, she was mind blown after that, man. he was a beautiful human being. You know what? He was a walking beautiful spirit, a walking beautiful giant. It's amazing that character of a thug that he did on film, but then in real life, he was a beautiful human being, one of the best ever. Do anything in the world for you. If he saw that you were going through some stuff, he was a real life superhero. He'd be there to save the day for you. He'll deeply be missed. What a beautiful human being. Tiny Lester, man. Love him all the way. God bless him and his family all the way.
Absolutely. How do you think Tiny was able to transcend into comedy?
Because he worked hard at it. In comedy, see, he hung around comedy clubs. Tiny is part of the Black comedy movement. It comes from the Comedy Theater in LA, in Los Angeles. He comes like Joe Torre, D.L. Hughley, the late great fantastic Ricky Harris. All the comedians in LA, they know about Tiny. Matter of fact, the best people, D. Militant, Darren Miller, the best people to talk about Tiny are the comedians that know of Tiny. And there's going to be a lot of them talking about Tiny because everyone, even the rappers and the comedians, everybody has a Tiny experience because he made sure, Chris Tucker, especially Chris Tucker. So everybody has this Tiny experience, man. So and then also too, I got to say this. Now that I look at it, I think about it, you got to put Ice Cube in the comedy books now because he put Tiny and Chris Tucker in the books when it comes to the concept of laughter. Right. So in the Comedy Hype Hall of Fame, you got to put Ice Cube in there. So he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with NWA, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now you got to put Ice Cube in the House of Comedy because look what he did for Tiny and Chris Tucker. Great job.
Absolutely, and I think he will forever be remembered. I think Deebo is such a huge character, not only just in a movie, but in our culture. Now people, call bullies Deebo and things like that. So he will forever be remembered.
He has a character symphony that'll last forever.
Absolutely, and we send our thoughts and prayers to his family. I think as 2020 wraps up, all I can say is I really hope people continue to stay safe, check on your loved ones. As Kim Whitley mentioned, call your loved ones. I think 2020 has taught us all a lot, but I think the number one thing is just to love on your people. So definitely our condolences out to his family. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.